Good evening. Tonight is, it's now 6:50. I apologize for the delay. We did have an executive session, but I want to call the meeting for Lower Saucon Township Council to order. Informational items from the manager.
Thank you. Good evening. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded for future viewing. It is not an official record of the township meeting. Additionally, item number 6F, the letter of understanding with the Governor Center for Local Government Services needs to be removed. It'll probably be done at the April. That was the agreement with the Center to update the fire apparatus study. I did not get the letter of engagement back from them in time. So that's off the agenda.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Gress?
Here.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Here.
Ms. Optop Cordero?
Here.
And Ms. De Leon is not present. Also present is myself, Stacy Werkheiser, Township Secretary, Mr. Gudzuzian, our Solicitor, our Acting Township Manager, Jay Finnegan, Tyler Mitch, our Zoning Officer, and Mr. Brian Cucker, our Engineer.
Okay, can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Steve, I'll turn it to you for the executive session.
Thank you. For the record purposes, we had an executive session before the meeting. The executive session started at 6 p.m. We had discussed real estate matters as well as potential litigation matters. No official action has been taken, and no official action is anticipated to be taken on those matters at tonight's meeting.
Thank you very much. Junior council members report. Okay. So we are going to move on. Public comment procedure. You all have that from the hallway. There's going to be 3 minutes available for agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. There's also 3 minutes at the end of the meeting for agenda and non-agenda items. Public comment will take place after presentations, but we don't have any tonight, so that is the next item we will move into. So if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please come to the podium.
Good evening. Jason Bononis, Lower Saucon Township resident and taxpayer. Almost 60 minutes in an executive session, and the only comment we get is we took no action. I wonder what happened back there. At least you announced that you had an executive session. On the budget and financial reports, there's a reference to $2,200 paid to DBM Consulting. Are we ever going to find out why Dave Monick was hired on behalf of Lower Saucon Township Council to investigate the Lower Saucon Township Police and what transpired on November 30th, 2025? Are you ever going to share that with the public? Because you're spending our tax dollars on it. I would like to know what my money's being spent for and what you're covering up. I know you're going to bring up, I'm almost certain during your council reports, that there was a meeting with LVPC at the Saucon Valley High School, so I'll address that now. That occurred yesterday. I'll point out to the public who may not have been there that it seems to me that LVPC already has an inherent bias in those proceedings and their efforts to assist the township. They referenced Lulu, a locally undesirable land use, right out of the gate. They never defined that, but I think that's a scathing opinion of the landfill. What I consider to be a locally undesirable land use is one that doesn't pay any taxes or fees to the township. The landfill pays a lot of money to the township, and I'm happy that they paid $2.5 million plus to the township and are scheduled to provide $4.5 million so my taxes don't go up. During that meeting at the LVPC held at the Saucon Valley High School, not once was there a mention of affordability. I don't know what you people are doing bringing Lehigh Valley Planning Commission to a meeting. There was talk about population growth of 150% and supposedly miraculously that the township is going to have 350% job growth, but yet not one word was said about affordability. Not one slide. They had all these fancy slides, but not one slide showed anything about projected cost to the township or projected revenue for the township. So it's very clear that this is a dog and pony show that has an intended purpose, and it's already been preordained. I think it's an embarrassment, but I intend to attend those meetings in the future. Yes, I have 57 seconds left. Saucon Valley Chamber of Commerce had a meeting as well. That was another dog and pony show. Nothing was accomplished there except talking about how Hellertown needs a parking garage. I guess maybe Lower Saucon Township can pay for that. I see Priscilla De Leon is not here. I noticed that she posted on social media congratulating the community on the bicentennial. At least she's no longer using the cues that she prompted AI to generate her messages with, but I would remind her that it's the sesquicentennial, even though she's been on council for about 50 years, so I guess it's easy to misunderstand that. Where do we stand on the police contract? Are you going to extend the police and keep our public safety intact? Are we going to have a solicitor's report that's going to talk about all the litigation, the update with regard to the litigation involving the landfill, the litigation involving Steel City? How about the $204,000 that were projected to spend on the solicitor? His bills for the first 2 months of this year are $34,000. It's $17,000 a year. And with regard to the manager's report,
Mr. Benonis, can you please
I will wrap up.
please?
I will be happy to wrap up. I know you don't like these comments that call you to task. 2 years without a full-time manager. Here we are. I thought we'd have balloons, maybe some fireworks, maybe a cake. 2 years without a full-time township manager, and you clowns can't find somebody. Is because our job is so undesirable because you're so incompetent? Is that what this is about? 2 years. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you for your comment. Next person, if there's somebody else who'd like to speak, please come to the podium. Going once? Going twice? Okay, we have at least one more person.
All right, Dave Boulan. Fortunately, I didn't have all week to work on the agenda here, but I find right off the bat a bunch of shortcomings, and I'm really surprised, given that you people have had over a month to get this darn thing out. It's quite clear that on Monday you reissued the agenda with changes, and now we're hearing tonight that there are more changes. Can't you get it straight? The thing that bothers me is that I have to go through the whole thing and understand what has and hasn't been removed, when all you have to do is issue the agenda, put a strikeout on what's gone, and then italics what's new. I know, doesn't seem to bother you. Reissued 3 days later is what we're seeing. It wasn't highlighted, it wasn't anything. Nothing in italics, all right. Issue 5B. It's not MPG. That's another typo if you just take a look at it. And obviously nobody reads this thing on the council because nobody corrects it. So go read it and see, gee, it's not MPG. It's really KCE. I shouldn't have to go through that, but it does make me have to go look it up and figure out who it really is, and that's really, it's just incompetence. I don't know what you're running here. You got 5 of you guys up there, and you can't do it right. I see Mr. Gaduzian's laughing. He's also an interesting person in that he's willing to make the most outlandish statements after other meetings to the press, but he won't even talk to us here. Thank you for pointing that out there, the previous speaker. 6F, no attachment instead of letter forthcoming. Well, we got that struck about, what, 10 minutes ago. What do you mean it's forthcoming? What kind of organizations you people dealing with? You put something on an agenda, you can't get anything out of them? How you gonna get anything out of a LVPC? Really? Please insert the name of who's your appointment's gonna be. Yeah, we can figure it out. We can finally go get it. Why don't you just put it down, unless you're gonna change it in the middle of the meeting? It'd be nice to get a draft of the financials, maybe a week or two ahead, because going through it is very time consuming for those that need to educate themselves. Of course, I'm sure everybody on the council knows it inside and out. Well, unfortunately, I don't have that kind of time. So I asked for that, and I haven't gotten it. 31 seconds left. I'm not gonna get the orange thing. In terms of this property code ordinance, I really have a problem with that. And if I had a little more time here, I would say nothing in this code shall be construed to cancel, modify, or set aside any provisions of the zoning ordinance. And that's under section 2. In section 8, it says Lower Saucon zoning ordinance shall hereby be modified to incorporate the within amendment. Oh, wonderful. And that's not even half as bad as section 1, which is spaghetti soup. We're going to really take the newest amendment, but there's a 24 amendment, but the county.
Can you wrap it up, please?
And the bottom line is it's nothing but salad, talk. And I know you don't want to hear because you don't want to fix, but at least we don't have Priscilla here with her little red flags. Not that that's wonderful. Thank you. I don't know why I thank you. I'd thank you if you would just
Thank you
fix
for
these
your
things.
comment.
Well, if you'll fix them, I'll be commenting more positively.
Next person, please.
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I did review the finance reports for February, and I do have a problem with paying the solicitor $16,635,000. That was actually January, and now February is $17,564. I would love to see a detailed description of why we're paying him that much. If we're paying him that per month, for the rest of the year, that's about $198,000 for a solicitor. That's a nice side gig. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe some of the months won't be as expensive. I'm not really sure. One of the things on the agenda, the IPMC, that International Property Maintenance Code Ordinance. So basically what we're doing is we're putting an extra international standard on top of our own zoning standards, which are already stringent. This says the IPMC is a comprehensive set of regulations for existing buildings designed to ensure public health, safety, and welfare. It applies to all existing residential and non-residential structures, premises, establishing minimum requirements and standards for light, ventilation, space, heating, sanitation, protection from the elements. So it does sound good because they always like to put those little words in like safety, health. Of course, who wouldn't want that? I mean, you could really convince the public that that's a good thing. But I was speaking with a girl at the meeting the other night at the school, and she said it took her 6 years to get a permit to build an additional house on her property, and $30,000 to the township in fees. That's not private property rights, everybody. That's absurd. I do think that we have very stringent zoning rules, and I think it's gonna be tough. The Planning Commission might wanna check our zoning rules and standards because they think we're gonna build some new facilities here, manufacturing, light manufacturing, businesses. And I think that a lot of people are gonna find out that there's a lot of things we can't do here in the township due to our strict zoning rules. I do have a problem with the Planning Commission speaking against the landfill as they did. They were very negative towards the landfill, and Jason Bononis just mentioned the Lulu. That's subjective to me, in my opinion, because it's basically saying the world really doesn't like garbage and they consider that pollution. But just because there's a smell coming out of something doesn't mean it's polluting the air. If that were the case, then the solar plant would also be polluting the air, and you're not doing anything about that. I think that we have to be careful of the wording we use, and we're just making assumptions that—
Can you wrap it up, please?
Sure. That the liberal judicial system that we have in this country, like our county, are going to come out against the landfill, but that's making an assumption, and I don't think that's proper. Again, they provide money towards our budget, and I think we just need to be careful about how we speak of them. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Next person, please.
Mark Ozimek, I paid my taxes. I just want to remark on this International Property Maintenance Code ordinance thing. I think, because I haven't looked into any of this. I'm busy cleaning a tree off my house that somebody else on council was supposed to have cut down. It never happened. So anyway, I don't know if you plan on doing this tonight or if you want to vote on it, if you want to pass it, deny it, or what you do. But I think you should take some more time till people have more things to look into. We are not international, we are Lower Saucon Township. We don't need more thrown on us than we already got.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Evening, council members. My name is Andrew Gutschall, resident in the township. I'm here actually to put some comments in on a variance application that we have in. It's item 6A, I believe. To summarize,
You can speak when we get to your item if you'd like to.
that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. Next item, or next person, if anybody else wants to speak. Who doesn't have an item on the agenda, I should say.
Andrea Witchen, Lower Saucon resident. I would just like to thank Stacy and whoever else in the office handles the communications on behalf of the council for getting in touch with us when the change was made to the agenda. I received an email directly from the township saying that there had been a change to the agenda. And then when I went to the website, I found a description of what had been added to the website and what the purpose of it was. So perhaps we have citizens who can't read, but thank you for keeping us informed.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Once, twice? Okay, we are going to move on. We have no presentations. As I indicated before, we're going to our hearing, which is the public hearing to consider adoption of proposed ordinance 2026-01, which is the International Property Maintenance Code ordinance. I'm going to turn it over to Steve to conduct the hearing. There should be a blue sheet. I don't know if Stacy can please get that, because we are now going to move into hearing procedures. Yes. Go ahead, Steve.
So for the purposes of having this hearing, the first step is a motion to, we don't have to do this right now, I just want to outline it. There's a motion to open the hearing, then there's a public comment section, then there's a council discussion section, and then if you're so inclined, a motion to adopt the ordinance and a motion to close the hearing. So the first thing is if someone is inclined to open the hearing, to make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Stacey, if we could have a roll call when you get a chance.
Roll call, Stacy.
Miss Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Miss Aptap Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Miss De Leon is absent. Motion passes 4-0.
And the next step would be public comment. I've been handed a draft ordinance that was in the front of the room when people came in, as well as a public sign-up sheet. It is blank. No one has signed in, so it appears that there is no public comment. If there is public comment, in the interest of providing the public every opportunity to speak, even though there's no one who has signed on, if there is anyone who wishes to speak, they can do so at this point. So is there anyone who would like to speak publicly? Sure.
First off, it's not clear there. It says a public review of it or whatever not. That doesn't say public, the public can speak on it. So I would again recommend that you say, whatever. Is there a time limit on how much I can talk or what I can say about this particular ordinance? You're the facilitator, Mr. Gaduzzi, and I'm asking you.
I'm not sure if we have a 3-minute limit or a 5-minute limit when it comes to hearings.
How am I supposed to deal with that?
Well, you can start now, sir. Go ahead.
You just start out and go, and that's what I mean. You folks really are not well grounded here. You're supposed to be professionals, and yet I see all of this. Yes, start the clock. He's more interested in the clock than what I have to say. And unfortunately, I didn't make a very detailed thing. I mentioned it a little bit about the this 3 or 4 page attached, okay? But there's no. Okay, I'm sorry, I guess Virginia's gonna talk and nobody's gonna, that's so typical of Virginia. If she's not bloviating, she's talking and just telling the public, you really don't give a damn because you have a majority in the council. So go for it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go. Because you know what? You really don't care.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on, from the public?
Don't bother, because it's not worth it. If that's all the more they care for me,
Hearing nothing else,
you're gonna get something else.
is there anyone, now is the time, oh, is there somebody else?
Looking at this from the website for Lower Saucon Township and ordinance number it's gonna come up with and everything else. But as far as I did not find a link to the international code of whatever it is you want to support. So before you make a decision on this tonight, do you want to put that out in the public so we can all review the international, whatever it is?
We asked for comments.
Yep. Okay. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak?
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. I apologize, I would have made my comments now. I forgot it was a hearing. Just my comments are, just from coming to these meetings for the past 2 years and speaking with other residents and hearing all the zoning requests, and knowing that it's very difficult to build here, and hearing about what's going on with the gas station sheets. There are a lot of restrictions in this township for building. That's well known in the Lehigh Valley. When I experienced the gentleman that was up here testifying to his new business that's going to be on 378, and the questions that were being asked of him, and I mentioned this to a girl at the Hellertown meeting, and also at the school meeting, the LVP, the Planning Commission, is that he's up here, he runs a business. It's his business, he knows exactly what he's doing, he's well seasoned in the business. He owns an auto body shop. And people on council who know nothing about running an auto body shop are asking him questions. And one of the questions I do believe that Priscilla had asked was, well, you're going to have clients coming and cars coming in and out after 6 p.m. And as a business owner or a daughter of a business owner, and knowing business and understanding how it works, the council asking somebody who runs a business if they're gonna have clients coming in and out at after 6 p.m. is absurd. There's no reason why that's any business of the council, actually. If he wants to have a client come at 9 o'clock because they can't get their car to the garage because they might work, and they say, well, I'm gonna come by at 9 o'clock and drop my car off to get it fixed. Who cares? Who cares? If the council could keep their nose out of the business of business owners and business builders and contractors and all the things that are going on at the Steel Club building that you also are trying to stop, which, by the way, another new lawsuit against the township for that, and personal lawsuits. So you have lawsuits and lawsuits on top of lawsuits and top of lawsuits on this township. And you want to talk about another bunch of building codes that you want to pass. It's like, seems like a waste of time to me. I think that you should have less restrictions, not more restrictions. The other thing that was mentioned was to the gentleman who's building on 378 next to the ExxonMobil gas station, which is next to a shopping center. There are no houses anywhere to be found on that road wherever anybody lives. But the question was asked, will the lights be coming out of the building and shining on properties or shining on the road or who cares? Again, who cares if the lights are shining on the road or the property that has nothing on it? It doesn't make sense. So again, the codes, International Property Maintenance Code sounds great, and that's how you get everybody with your wording of safety, public safety, against fire hazards. We need standards. We already have standards. We have too many standards. So I would say don't even talk about this code, and please don't pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public?
Andrea Witchen, Lower Saucon Township. As someone who does read everything that is attached to the agenda every month, I would have to agree with Mark that I am not sure that I have seen the actual code itself as an attachment to the agenda. And if I missed it, I apologize. But I would like to see exactly what it covers. And so I would support his suggestion that you postpone a vote on this, at least until you are sure that it has been disseminated widely, so that people like me who are interested can see exactly what it says. I'm particularly concerned because I hear a lot of yammering up here about zoning. This is a property maintenance code. In other words, this is how you maintain your property. Not can you get your property zoned differently. So there seems to be some gigantic misunderstanding as to what this exactly is. I also understand from last month's meeting that this is also provided as an assistance to the officer in the township who is required to look after the condition of the properties within the township, and that this will make his job easier, or her job easier, because it provides a very clear delineation of what the problems are for which you can be cited. And that in the case of the two properties that in January were condemned, that process would have moved much more quickly because you could have used this code in order to identify the deficiencies, rather than having to use the nuisance codes, which I understand are far more troublesome, perhaps more vague, but in any case, make the officer's job more difficult. So I'm afraid I don't see what the problem is in streamlining it. There's another thing that I'm concerned about that this would do, which is it protects both the citizens and the officer from being declared preferential towards property owners, because you can go right to the code and say, here's what the problem was, or a homeowner could go to the code and say, I did not violate this even though he said it. So again, I would suggest you at least give us a month to look at this in more detail, and then I suspect I'm going to then come back and suggest that we adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public? Okay, now we move to council discussion. Does anyone from council like to make any comments or have any questions?
Was that ordinance the original, or I saw the ordinance was attached. Was the original International Property Maintenance Code attached anywhere on the agenda?
Yeah. Let me comment on some of the, or try to clarify some of the comments that have been made by individuals. First of all, the adoption of this ordinance was my suggestion. I was actually shocked that Lower Saucon did not have this in the books when I became the acting manager. Secondly, the ordinance before you tonight to adopt has been properly advertised in a newspaper of general circulation as required by the municipality's planning code. The code itself is the ordinance. The items listed in there are the code. The IPC is an organization that supports these efforts throughout the Commonwealth, throughout all the states in the United States of America. It's just an organization. So the code is what a municipality adopts. The reference is the organization is the International Property Maintenance Code. The fact is, it is, as someone mentioned, about maintaining your property. And Lower Saucon's approach to maintaining property is, if someone brings a concern to the township, then we react. We don't have a bunch of individuals employed by the township driving around and saying, Mr. Gadouzian, you have
3 extra bushes or whatever, or your screens on your house are dilapidated. If a complaint comes in, this makes it easier for the code enforcement officers to do. So it was my suggestion, because most municipalities in Pennsylvania, and any ones that I've been employed in, have it, and it's used applicably the correct way. I was shocked that we didn't have it, because most municipalities do have it. It's been properly advertised. The document contains what the code is for Lower Saucon Township. There are sections that aren't in the code that other municipalities have adopted. So we've stricken out some items, and we've left other items in. It could be more comprehensive than the one that we're adopting.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I would suggest that it be adopted tonight as it was advertised to be adopted, advertised correctly, and presented to council in the appropriate manner.
So reading that attachment on the agenda, that is the rules you're gonna see put in place through this adoption?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment, council?
Yeah, so again, to clarify this, it says in the very beginning of this that adopting the most recent edition of International Property Maintenance Code and automatically adopting all future additions, amendments, and supplements without further ordinance. Would that mean to say that if this IPMC changes down the road, that we automatically incorporate the totality of those changes?
That is exactly what it means, unless we decide not to do so. The concept for doing so is if you didn't, every time the code was updated, you'd have to go through this entire process again, and then you'd have an antiquated code. So we'd have our zoning officer would be stuck with something many years old, which would not be the appropriate way to respond. I've seen it done this way all the time. This is the way it's done in every township I've ever, or every municipality I've ever been involved in, which is the most efficient way to do it. If there comes a time where the newest code, for argument's sake, creates a problem, then we address it. And if there's something that we don't like in it, the township does not like in it, you can address that. But what it does is it allows for it to be always modernized and always the most up-to-date automatically, at a minimum of cost, without going through the hearing process, without going through the advertising process, without, you know, the whole process.
Okay, would that be to say that there could be additional restrictions added that are not listed here explicitly?
I think your question is the next version of the code, could it be more stringent than this one? Sure, but
Well,
it could be less.
You know, we talk in here about, there's ones that are, like the screens, 30414 as an example. That's one thing. What if it comes in an update comes and says that your doors have to be 48 inches wide minimum or something like that? Does that automatically get incorporated into our ordinance?
If a new property code had new provisions, yes, they would automatically be involved, except for the exceptions that we've carved out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a smooth transition. And again, if it becomes a problem, if the zoning officer then reports back and says, you know, the newest code says X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, we should do something about it, then we do.
In that process, if we were to exclude a newer version, would that be through a hearing again, similar
Just like
to
this, yes.
Okay.
How often does it get updated? Annually?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I don't know. As I recall, it's usually every 5 to 10 years. It's not an annual update.
Okay. I have just an aside. I'm not sure how to approach this, but the section 302.4, where there's a reference to height in inches related to weeds or plant growth, the following shall be inserted 12. So that's 12 inches. Obviously, as you know, that I'm a supporter of environmental initiatives such as lawn to meadow programs. And I'd like to have some process. I don't know if this is the place to do it in here or if it's going to restrict it, but to look at exemptions for natural landscapes where there is either a, how should I say this? What's the term? Forgive me one second. an area of intent on this, where there is a 3 to 6 foot mowed buffer zone around a native plant or pollinator habitat, or perhaps an approach where we can allow for a separate permit or exemption of this restriction.
I'm sure that that could be carved out, but just so you're aware, our current ordinance has 12 inches in there under the nuisance code. So it's already part of the code of Lower Saucon Township. The 12 inches on the height of your lawn has already been part of the code for.
And obviously, you know, I'm not supporting, I don't want blight and unmanaged property, you know, with weeds growing all over the place, but there is an initiative that I, you know, would like to, and I don't know how to approach this, but I'm not opposing this.
I think the way to do it is to have staff look at including that in our ordinance under building standards or land development, or build it into
As a separate, can we have it as a separate permit or something like that to approach it for a naturalized area?
It wouldn't be part of this code, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to allow people to have the defense of letting their weeds grow, never taking care of their lawn, and then claiming it's natural.
Well, right, but it would have to have it would have to be defined as an area of intent with a buffer, a mowed buffer area around it.
Right, but for the purposes of this code, I think what would make the most sense is to pass the code as is, and then take a look at what you're suggesting. And if that means, as Jay suggested, perhaps we find a place in which somebody makes such an application to do so, that's fine.
But we can approach that as a separate ordinance or process.
Some sort of separate.
Without having to disrupt what we're doing tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
My recommendation would be to pass this ordinance as is, and then take a look at that to address your concern.
Okay.
If I can, I'll go next. I am in support of having a property maintenance code. I've seen over the last couple years various instances, whether it be on Apple Butter Road with the Swint property, and in January, the two properties that were contending with like significant property maintenance issues, that we do currently have an ordinance that's vague and can be subject to various different interpretations. And it can also be alleged that somebody's getting disparate treatment from somebody else because of the vagueness of how the nuisance ordinance could be interpreted depending on who is our zoning officer, who's our codes officer, all of those things. And it requires a whole process that they go to the magistrate, and they have to spend various legal fees from our township's perspective to just enforce basic property maintenance. And so I'm in favor of having a streamlined process, that when we do have a concern, that there is a way that it's equally addressed throughout the township in a uniform way, that we eliminate any arguments that people are being treated differently. And it also gives more clarity for our zoning and codes officer so that he can move forward. I think it is very common all over the place that you have a property maintenance code. I do not, as our township has always been, we are a reactive township, so we are not going to look for people's problems, and nor do we have the staff to do so. But I think having a mechanism by which our staff can direct people to, not only to correct any violations, but also moving forward when they develop, this would really bring our township into where the rest of the Lehigh Valley is, and where the rest of the municipalities are when it comes to maintaining. I know I appreciate it when my neighbors take good care of their property. It helps all of us. It helps our property values. It helps our community in general as being an attractive place. So I'm in favor of this because I think it will be a cost savings overall when we do have nuisances and blight, and it's also a straightforward, streamlined process to identify what exactly are the rules. I do think if there were a time, let's say that a future code created a problem and we had a property owner who was having a problem, that's again something our township would be able to work with the property owner with. And if it was something in which the property maintenance code was too restrictive or too prohibitive or whatever it was, we would know at the moment in time that we had an issue with a resident. And then that's when the township could change it to be what it needs to be if we really felt it was prohibitive and it was causing a concern in our community. So I think that if we did have a problem in the future with whatever future adoptions of the code that we automatically do, again, it's not gonna be something where the person's gonna be penalized as a resident. We're here to help people, we're here to work with them. So I'm in favor of allowing us to deal with issues as they arise rather than having to have a hearing every 2 years or 3 years. So that's just my take on it. I would rather deal with issues as they come up versus having to go through the process. So that's just how I feel.
All right, can I go? Can I have the floor?
Yes.
Okay, so, I'm going back to my old notes because this was back in January where we had this on the agenda, and I did look up the code online, the International Property Maintenance Code. And it was mentioned that we're not international. However, the state itself doesn't have a property maintenance code. However, many of the municipalities, as Jay had mentioned, have adopted this code because you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. It's not something that needs to be unique for every single place. It's a lot of common sense type of things. I know one of the concerns that was mentioned was people are worried that, you know, we're going to be sending out people to look and see, you know, your screen door's broken and they're going to go after you. But that really isn't how our zoning has ever worked. It's really a complaint-driven thing based on, you know, neighbors usually. We recently have had a couple issues with blighted properties, and that's really one of the main reasons for having this is, you know, so you don't have that issue. Even in a very beautiful neighborhood, we have a blighted property, you know, like in $1 million neighborhood. So it happens, and this makes it easier as a tool for our zoning enforcement to take care of things like that. So I am supportive of it. I think that's all I wanted to say about it. You know, I don't see anything in here that's really egregious.
The other thing I would say is I just want to thank the public for all of your insight and review of it. We've had people come for the last couple months and just discuss it, and I think all of the comments are well received by us, and I hope that we were able to address and alleviate some of the concerns that you had about it. But I do want to thank everybody's participation in providing feedback to us.
Before we go any further with this, can I ask Tyler a question? I hate to put you on the spot, but you're the one who's going to be using this. Have you used something similar to this ordinance before, and have you noted any issues, or has it made your job easier, basically? Question I have for you.
A couple of the municipalities that SFM represents does have the IPMC.
Okay.
So yeah, it definitely makes our job easier.
And any major issues or complaints from residents with that being in effect at those other municipalities?
No.
Anything worth, you know, noteworthy, obviously?
No, I mean, like everybody else was saying, it's complaint driven. So we're not targeting anybody. It's utilized mostly for complaints from neighbors.
That pretty much clears up any of my concerns. Works in other municipalities. I don't see why it wouldn't work here.
Okay. Then if there's no more council discussion, we'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2026-01, the International Property Maintenance Code as advertised.
I will make that motion.
I will second.
And Stacy, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Saptop Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
And Ms. De Leon is absent. Motion passes 4-0.
And I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing at this point.
I'll make the motion to close the hearing.
I make the motion.
I'll second that.
we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Aptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
And Ms. De Leon is absent. Motion passes 4-0.
And that concludes number 4A.
Okay, so I will jump back in. Number 5, we have developer items, MPC extension / Menlo Easton Land Development, LS 01-2026. Steve, can you just indicate what this is and whether like we have any opportunity to deny?
Yeah, this is an extension of time that the developer has provided. And it's essentially, it's really for us to, they've granted the extension of time to review the plan. And that's normally customary because it's driven by the developer with regard to timing.
Okay, and it's my understanding, Jay, that this is something that we have to accept from them.
Correct. The MPC puts the onus on the developer to grant the municipality the extension.
Okay. So I don't think we have to take any action. Do we have to vote? We don't have to vote on this, right?
No, what you would indicate is that the developer of the Menlo Easton Land Development has granted the township an extension under to extend their deadline to June 30th, 2026 as applicable with the MPC, noted for the record.
Okay. We're gonna move on to 5B. MPC extension of Steel City Mennonite Church lot line change. That seems to be the same exact type of thing. So for the record, the applicant, Steel City Mennonite Church, is granting the township an extension under the MPC for a deadline of July 5th, 2026. We don't have to take any action. So we're gonna move on to 5C, motorcar paint protection, motorcar land development / 3542 Route 378. I believe there's somebody from the audience for that. So do you want to come up and explain real quick what you are looking for?
Yes, Mike Russick, MSR Engineering. I'm actually the original design engineer for the project, and Ken Harmony, who's here tonight, the applicant, asked me to come to help him out. He's suffering a little bit from laryngitis, but I'll give a quick synopsis. Plans were approved back in 2019. Agreements were executed, financial security, land development in 2020. 6 years later, he has the shop up. Everything's operational. Improvements completed. I believe there was an inspection done by the Township Engineer's Office. The only item, well, from what I understand, is there's currently still $40,000 in escrow remaining or around that for the guarantee of improvements. The only thing that has not been completed is a total of 6 landscape trees. Just a quick summary, the plan called for 35 buffer trees. All of the required buffer zoning trees have been installed. Then there were 8, it was called out on the plan as 8 randomly located trees that were to cover, were provided for impervious surface coverage plantings. There's like so many trees per square foot of impervious covered, and there were 2 street trees. Of those remaining 10 trees, there's only 4 trees, Ken, that haven't been installed?
6.
6.
There's 8 that haven't been installed?
6.
6.
6.
We think it's
6.
6.
Yeah.
Oh, your letter said 6.
I heard 8 going around. 6 or 8. We're down to 6 or 8 trees.
6.
The way the landscape plan was set up, the 8 random, well, 2 street trees, which are fixed locations in the front, and the 8 random trees were just called out to be randomly placed on the property. 4 of the random, if you want to call them 4 of the random locations, were called out on an embankment up between the house and the shop, but there's a stormwater infiltration facility in that embankment. So the concern there is he doesn't want to put them there for 2 reasons. He has the infiltration facility. The concern the root systems could, even though the trees are downhill of the system, could still migrate up into the system. Plus, he spent a lot of money on the architecture of that building and the appearance of the building to make it a very, very attractable feature along the highway. Sorry. They expend a lot of money on the architecture of the building, the cost of the building. It is a very attractive building. The other concern there is he doesn't want to have to place any more trees that are going to grow and possibly obstruct the view from the highway. Obviously, businesses rely on visibility. As an offer, he would, whether it's 6 or 8, there's numbers floating around, Ken would either offer to provide the funds for those trees to the Park and Rec fund for a tree fund or Park and Recreation, or he could offer to provide the trees, provide them to the township for the park, or I think there was a third option. Either way, any amenable way to address it with the township, either by providing the funds or by providing the trees to the township in lieu of having to put them on the property. If he's forced to put them on, he'll try to find a location, but we're only talking 6 trees. And again, he's not saying, I just don't want to do them at all. He'll offer to provide them to the township for the park or the funds for those trees to the township to use for the park.
Yeah, Mike, according to the plan, I have 2 street trees. There were 4 trees that were gonna be randomly scattered in front of the dwelling, and then 4 trees on the embankment. So that's a total of 8 of the random trees plus the 2.
Plus the 2, okay, so it would be a total of 10. Okay, saying it's 10. You say it's 10, yeah.
And then there were 7 buffer trees that were not planted on the north side of the building, but were added to the buffer on the west and south side of the building.
Yeah, on the side that he's talking about, Ken actually owns the adjoining property. There were 6 trees that were put in a very short location, which would be between the parking lot of the building and the adjoining property, which Ken owns, which is also a commercial property. The parking lot only is like 7 or 8 spaces. But he did provide the trees on the property. He just added them to one of the other buffers because, again, on that side, there's view of the building from coming southbound on 378. And again, he's trying to avoid anything that is going to obstruct the view of the building. So again, there, even though they're not where it was called for on the plan for a quote-unquote parking buffer from an adjoining property, commercial property he owns, he did provide them and supplement one of the other buffers with them. So we're down to, I get 10 trees is what you're saying. So with the 10 trees, either provide the trees to the township or provide the funds for those trees to the township out of the escrow. However, the board would be amenable to the offer.
Thank you. I really appreciate the very detailed description of where all the trees are. I really do.
It's trees. Yeah.
I'm just going to turn it over to Jay to give some more clarification.
Sure.
And
I would recommend that council approve the developer's request to provide either the trees or money in lieu of the trees, and let staff decide if we do get the physical trees, where to plant them, and that the as-built just reflect how the trees are placed on the property, and we can close this development out.
And for clarification, so you know, the trees were, the 2 street trees were glory red maple, and the random trees were sugar maple. So they're not junk trees.
Right.
They're
Nice trees.
They're very good quality tree species for offer.
Okay.
I know we have a tree fund money item somewhere, so to me, it would make sense just to put the money in there rather than, like, we don't necessarily off the top of our head have a place to put 10 trees at the moment.
I think he was suggesting that, like, we let staff choose whether they want the money or whether we want the trees. And, like, if they know they have a spot for the trees now, they could say, give me the trees. If they don't, then they can say, give the money. But we could let the staff decide what's best. I think it's important to note the quality of the tree so we know the right value and what type of tree to accept.
It could be a mix or match too.
So I would entertain a motion to do what Jay said. Stacy, do you need Jay to recite the motion?
The motion would be to accept the trees and/or cash in lieu of putting them on the property located at 3542 Route 378.
What's the value of the trees?
That's what that's said in our ordinance, isn't it? Or the
Yeah,
the calipers called
We'll
out.
have to figure that out. If the value's the way we want to go, we'll have to figure that out. The motion should also acknowledge that the 7 buffer trees on the north side of the property were installed on in other buffers.
This isn't the building that fronts onto 378? It's, the garage is in the,
It's right there by the bridge.
yeah, but there's a brown and tan building in the front. That's a house.
I was there, I was a resident there before we built the building.
That's not the property.
It's the property, the shop sits up behind it.
And you don't want to put trees in the front yard there or that residential area?
We want to put we're about at the point now, we want to put a sign up, a permanent sign in front. And I'd rather wait till the sign gets approved and designed before I plant trees there and we end up moving them.
Can you speak into the microphone while you make your comments, please?
So right now, we're working on trying to have a sign designed for the front where it says motor car in the front, there's a sign.
Yeah.
More of a permanent sign.
Yeah.
Mike's looking at the ordinance of what kind we can put there so we can come in and get it approved. We will put some trees there if you want later, but, you know, I just don't want to put trees there and then we got to remove them because they're in the way of the sign. I don't want to hide the sign. Or the highway's already hiding part of the property with the bridge for 78.
I understand. And there's a grass section between the two properties. It looks like between them.
There is a grass section between the highway and the house, and then between the house and the motor car.
And the
But
park,
there's an infiltration system in the front that's catching all the roof water.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I apologize.
So we're in the business, I mean, we do a lot, we're here forever. We do excavating and water and sewer work. We've been finding out that these roots from the trees are growing into the infiltration systems. So I don't want to damage the system. That's why I don't want to put the trees there, another reason why.
And on the back side of the property, I see a row.
There's a row, but there's 39 trees back there we put.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, I went to the neighbors and let them pick the trees. You just gave me a list and said, here's what you gotta use. Went to the neighbors back there, I said, here's the trees I can use, tell me what you want.
Nice.
And those were the trees that they picked. So the relationship with the town, with the neighbors is good. I don't have any complaints from anybody back there.
Can we just have the motion read one more time to incorporate what Brian indicated? Sorry, Jay, I'm really putting you to the test here.
Do we want the trees at that location? Or is it okay to put them someplace else?
The motion would be to accept the developer's offer to plant the deficient trees on township property, or the township take cash in lieu of the trees, and that the as-built reflect the location of the trees planted on the, not planted on the north side of the plan.
Okay.
And with the species type, which was the maple.
Native. Yeah.
Sugar.
Red and sugar maple, and those are both native species.
Right.
We got the two, Stacy, you got the two tree types?
I'll have it on the minutes, yeah.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to that effect. Do I have a motion from anybody on council?
I will make the motion as stated by the manager.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Miss Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Uptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
I just want to thank you for coming. I'm sorry that you have laryngitis. I feel your pain recently. So, but thank you very much for all the information and for staying to provide it to us. Good luck with it. Okay. Next, we have the Gutschall variance 03-26/2520. We have that individual here also, so would you like to come to the podium?
Here at the right time this time, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, council members. Yeah, I just wanted to give a short statement on the actual variance request. We have two variance requests, one for the yard requirements, the backyard. We're asking for 8 feet of relief. I believe in the plans approved for this subdivision in 2007, it was a 50-foot requirement. We're asking it to be reduced to 42 feet so we can fit the pool in our backyard. And subdivision plan requirement for this required a maximum of 8.9% impervious cover, which is well below what the township currently requires for a RA zoned lot. So we're asking for relief to let that increase up to a non-conforming approximately 12%. And so in summary, we're asking for a variance for from the subdivision's 8.78% impervious coverage cap because it's significantly more restrictive than the township's current standards of RA zoned residential properties. Our proposed total impervious area will be around 12%, which remains well within the township's broader impervious limits for lots of our size. The improvements, which include a pool and a small patio around it, are located entirely within long-established, already disturbed lawn areas. No trees, or other buffers or natural resources will be disturbed. The runoff will continue to sheet flow across the lawn exactly as it does today, with no need for new stormwater measures. Our lot's shallow rear yard makes it impossible to place a pool anywhere else without other relief. And the variance request is the minimum needed to allow reasonable residential improvement for our property.
Thank you very much. And I just want to explain to you, so the way that it works when you need a variance is you come before council and then council can provide our input, but the people who ultimately decide if your variances are granted would be the zoning hearing board.
Next Monday.
And so you will make the presentation that you have, whatever it may be, before the zoning hearing board, and they will ultimately decide. Council is limited in what we do to either support, take no action, which just means that we're not saying we agree or disagree. That is most of the time what we end up doing for almost all of our variances. And then sometimes we object and we can send our lawyer and support an objection if we wanted to. So those are our options. I just wanted to share that with you so you understood that we can't grant your variance. Right. The only other thing I would also recommend is if you've talked to your neighbors, I don't know who's around you, but if you have people supporting that, I would encourage you to bring them with you to your zoning hearing board so that, because that's a very common question. Everybody wants to make sure that there's nothing you're doing that would interfere with the neighborhood and the other people that are living around you. So that, I don't see anybody else here this evening that is here to object to you, so that's a positive thing. But I wanted to let you know that what council's role is in the process.
Yeah, I was informed that this isn't, I knew that this wasn't where it was gonna be voted on, but I figured I'd show up just in case.
And we appreciate the description of what you're providing, and I thank you for your time in doing that.
Okay.
So thank you.
I'll make a motion that we take no action on this.
Thank you, I didn't have to ask. I will second that. Roll call.
Is there a second?
Second?
I did, I seconded.
Yeah.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Miss Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Miss Uptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Good luck.
Good luck to you. Next, we have approval of the Saucon Valley Community Center Senior Agreement Program for 2026. I will entertain a motion to approve the 2026 Senior Program Agreement per the terms of the attached agreement that we all have. So I will entertain that motion if somebody has it.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call please, Stacy.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Can we have discussion?
Yeah, we
Oh, would you, okay, no problem. Go ahead,
Just
before roll call.
Just for everyone's awareness, this is Saucon Valley Community Center Senior Program.
which is obviously an important part of our community. And what are we agreeing to here? We're paying a sum of $12,300 for an adult senior program, which includes, where was that other piece of paper with the services on it? The exhibits? Is the exhibits part of this?
The exhibits A, B.
Do I have that on?
I don't think the exhibits are.
I don't think the exhibits were on there. Oh, here it is. I think it's exhibits, yeah. So this is what I wanted to point out for everybody. What does this include? What do we, billiards, exercise programs, art workshops, pinochle, coloring programs, exercise. So this is the 2026 educational recreational programming that may be of interest to seniors in our community. Do we have any contact information that can be provided on here? Do they know where the Saucon Valley Community
I
Center is?
think we linked to it.
They have a whole site on there about their senior program.
Okay, well, I urge you to reach out and get information on these. I know my kids both went there, and it's a great facility, really important in our community, so I support this.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah, in Hellertown, that's where they provide meals for the seniors.
Yeah.
And then our Sidersville Hall is where they have the aerobics and some of the other activities that were mentioned as part of the exhibit. But thank you, Chad, for reminding us to promote that, because it's a very important asset that we have for our residents. Any other?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we've been doing it for many years, and I've never heard anything bad from people about it. I know they like it, so it's good to support.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, I'm gonna try roll call again.
Sorry.
I'm glad that you did it.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Abtaf Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, moving on to the approval of Saucon Valley Community Center Summer Recreational Program Agreement. So I will entertain a motion to approve the execution of the 2026 Summer Recreational Program Agreement not to exceed $35,100. Is there a motion for that?
I will make the motion to approve the agreement for the 2026 Summer Recreational Program, the amount not to exceed $35,100.
I'll second.
Okay, the three of you would like to provide us with a summary of what the recreational program offers to our youth?
Chad can do that. It's Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Parks and Rec.
Sort of.
Okay, and just, again, my kids both went to the Saucon Valley Community Center, and they were part of the summer program. And when my wife was in the hospital with cancer before she passed, the staff there really stepped up for me on a personal level. They helped make sure my kids were there when I had to run to the hospital, and I owe them a debt of gratitude. So, and the summer programs are just great, lifelong friendships. My kids are still good friends with other students that they met in those programs. So what is the objective here? Create a safe and fun learning experience where children can participate in creative, social, and recreational activities. The curriculum includes a child center program providing hands-on, age-appropriate activities with a focus in the natural environment, arts and crafts, individual and team-centered physical activities, health and safety, science, and outdoor exploration. There's going to be a program it's limited to 72 pre-registered children at Town Hall Park for 4 weeks, and 60 pre-registered children at Southeastern Park for a 4-week session. It'll run Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until noon, commencing on June 15th and terminating on August 7th. Not doing anything on July 4th. And I think that is it.
So it mentions Southeastern and what other park?
Town Hall.
So Town Hall and Southeastern. I know that they have done a lot of effort over the years to include the other parks in Still City, but sometimes we have some problems with, attendance, like not attendance and people that have registered, but a minimum number of registrants to, run the program at those parks. So, I do encourage everybody, no matter where you're from, to please, sign your kids up because it is a great program. And I will do a shout out because the police always come and they do a lot of demonstrations with, the police dog and a lot of community engagement with our police. So I want to thank them for helping out in the program also. So I will take a roll call if we can.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Aptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, next we have a special event application for Saucon Valley Youth Lacrosse Day. For newer members of council, this comes across to us every year. You've seen the attachments of what they would like to do for their special event. So I will entertain a motion to approve the special event application for Saucon Valley Youth Lacrosse Day to be held on Saturday, May 2nd, 2026. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I will second that motion.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for roll call on this one.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Aptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the appointment of Lower Saucon Authority Board vacancy. There was recently a vacancy to the board, and we did receive a few applications for that. And I know that our manager has been in touch with the Water Authority, and we've had some people attending, and we do have the applications here. So I would like to entertain a motion to appoint Mr. John Holtsizer to the Water Authority Board.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Halsizer to the Lower Saucon Authority to fill the vacancy.
I will second that. Roll call?
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Aptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Next, we have F, which, as indicated at the beginning of the meeting, has been removed from the agenda because we have not received the letter yet. So that will be at a future meeting. Moving on to G, Resolution 36, 2026, authorization for the submission of the AARP Community Challenge Grant. So I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the submission of the AARP Community Challenge Grant. Unless, can I have a motion for that first?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from any council members?
From the prior Parks and Rec meeting this month, this was discussed. And the plan, just so everyone is aware, that there's going to be a number of improvements made to Town Hall Park, where there will be ADA compliant tables that are currently not present at the pavilion to improve accessibility. There will also be the addition of 2 new benches, probably shaded, I believe, on, the north side or the west side of the playground that's up there by the pavilion to provide some additional seating for the families. So I think this is a good idea, and it's a good opportunity for us as a township to improve our Parks and Rec services for the residents with grant money. It's, free stuff.
Thank you, Chad, for that nice summary of what we're getting. So I will entertain the motion. Well, I did the motion. Let's do a roll call.
Ms. Aptoff Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, next moving on to item H. This is an authorization to advertise a draft ordinance removing Appendix A. I am going to ask either Steve or Jay to explain what happened and what we are doing. Ryan, you're up. They passed, they punted.
I don't have anybody else to pass to.
Punted.
So Appendix A in the zoning ordinance lists all the uses that are allowed in the ordinance and which zones they're allowed in. It's a sort of like a table of contents of everything that's in the written part of the zoning ordinance. We found that over the years, as councils have amended these sections to bring uses in, take uses out, that chart was not amended. That chart is inaccurate now. And there's really no need for the chart because you can look in the zone regulations and it'll tell you what uses are allowed. So I think we decided that to avoid this confusion in the future, we'll just get rid of Appendix A. It doesn't take any regulations away. It just removes the chart.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to recite this and you tell me if I'm wrong. The appendix is currently not conforming to what each zoned district provides for because over the years, things have been added or subtracted to the different uses in each zoning district. So we don't want any confusion. We want transparency, and we don't want anybody to say, well, gee, the appendix said this, but the actual zoning section says this. So I am in favor of this advertisement, and I will entertain a motion to advertise the draft ordinance removing Appendix A from the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion as stated by the president. My mic wasn't on. I'll make that motion as stated by the president.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Any other questions for Mr. Cucker?
No.
Thank you.
I did look at it though, and I noted it already had a footnote saying it was repealed like 3 years ago, but then they didn't take it out. So did they officially remove it? They unofficially removed it?
Yeah,
It seemed
hopefully
kind
after
of
you
weird.
pass this, the code people will take it out.
Okay, can I have a roll call?
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Optop Cordero?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, now we have approval of council minutes from February 18th, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from February 18th, 2026.
I will second that motion.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Ms. Optop Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Next, we have approval of the February 2026 financial reports. Can I have a motion for approval of those reports?
I'll make a motion.
I will second the motion. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Optop Cordero?
Yes.
Mr. Heimbecker?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Gress?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Now we're on to public comment for agenda and non-agenda items. There is a 3-minute time limit, so if you'd like to speak, please come to the podium.
Sorry, my knee's still healing. Andrea Witchin, Lower Saucon resident. I have 3 comments to make about the maintenance code that you just passed. First of all, the implication was that the attachments to the agendas included the entire code. They do not. I just sat there and read both of the attachments from January and March, and all it includes are the changes to the international code that the township wants to make, but it does not include the full text of the code. And therefore, the ordinance that was published did not include the entire text of the code. So you have still not made it available easily to the public. And come on, It's the 21st century. Yeah, you advertised an ordinance in a paper of distribution or circulation. Why don't you put it someplace people actually read? The other concern I have, and this is to your concern, Chad, about the 12-inch lawn height, what Mr. Finnegan said is wrong. The current ordinance regarding lawn height says that you must keep your lawn trimmed to 12 inches within 25 feet of the edge of your property. Which means if, like my property, you have 150 feet across the front, I only have to come in 25 feet from the left and 25 feet from the right at 12 inches. The rest of my property, and likewise from front and back, the rest of my property can be at any height I damn well please. And that would accommodate, to a certain extent, what you're trying to do with lawn to meadow, but not exactly. But don't assume that the word that there's a 12-inch requirement across the board is true, because it is not. And the way I know that is that I have a very unpleasant neighbor who was not happy that I was trying to do no mow May a couple of years ago, which I have since stopped trying to do anyway. It's bogus. It was just a marketing trick that someone was trying. But in any event, they sent one of the township's finest to my door to tell me that I was in violation because of how tall my grass was. Now, strangely enough, the gentleman did not know what the ordinance said. He just knew I was in violation of it. So I looked it up, and that's what it says. You must keep your grass to 12 inches from 25 feet in from every boundary of your property. Okay. And not only that, but one of the subsequent policemen that I spoke to said, not only that, we never enforce it. And I said, well, that's a good thing, because if you go over to Colesville Road, what you're going to discover is right up against the edge of Colesville Road, all of that vegetation is much taller than 12 inches. But if you're planning on going ahead with lawn to meadow, which I absolutely support, and I will be very happy to be the first one on my block to do it, just be sure that you understand what the ordinance really does say. And I'm sorry that you passed this tonight. I think we deserved more time to read the actual code. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your, thank you very much for your comment. We have anybody else?
Anne Marie Slavic, Lower Saucon Township. One of the weeks I was here, I think it was February, you were talking about banning plastic bags, and I objected to that. I just don't like banning things. I think it would be better if we did some public education on plastic bags or using plastic bags, but the banning is the problem I have. I don't use as many plastic bags as I used to, but some pet owners like them. So I just think that we should leave it up to people of what to do if they want plastic bags or not. Banning brings me to thoughts of some other things that I don't like. But I did find some interesting information on Cornwall Alliance, which is a great site for environmental information. And they actually said, when I looked this up, do microplastics come from manufacturing textiles? Because I found that it does. Interesting. It says, yes, microplastics do come from manufacturing textiles. The production of synthetic fibers like polyester, nylon, and acrylic during textile manufacturing can release tiny plastic particles into the environment. These particles are shed during the washing process, washing away fibers from fabrics, and can enter wastewater treatment plants, which are not equipped to filter out these tiny particles. The result is that these microplastics find their way into rivers, lakes, and oceans, contributing to microplastic pollution. And there is an NIH article about it as well, so you could look it up. Fibrous microplastics releases from textile production phases, a brief review of current challenges and applied research directions. So my thought is, if it comes from manufacturing plastics, I mean, manufacturing synthetic fibers and clothes, look at all your clothes. Look at your labels on your clothes to see what they're made out of, because they're no longer made out of cotton. They're made out of these synthetic fibers. Wouldn't it be interesting if, as you wash them ongoing, if those fibers came out in the washing machine and got into our water supply that way? Just a thought. I'm not a scientist, but I thought that was interesting. Anyway, I do think there are more plastic pollution coming from other things other than plastic bags. So you might want to think about that. I think that's all I had. I think it's interesting that 2 people in this room tonight agreed with something that I said. I'm shocked. About the standards and making, you know, people's property have standards. And I understand that because we don't want trashy stuff in nice neighborhoods, as Laura Ray said, which I would agree with in some way. But also, I do like private property rights. I'm all about that. That's how our country was founded, on private property rights. It's in our Constitution. It's actually a special liberty that is afforded to Americans that doesn't exist in other populations.
Can you wrap it up?
Yeah, of course. And the Planning Commission, interesting, the data centers that aren't being talked about, the warehouse that's not being talked about. We have to just be careful of what we bring into the township for jobs. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Next person, please.
Interesting. Mark Ozemick, yes, I paid my taxes. On the International Property Maintenance Code, kind of sounds like me, like you're just looking at trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's what that sounds like, trying to keep up with the Joneses ordeal. So here's my beef. The international code changes, nobody likes asbestos. Zoning guy comes around and says, Mark, you gotta take the asbestos off your house. I say, I'm not taking it off. And you gotta go to a zoning hearing. Then you gotta pay money to the township, right? That's correct. You're gonna want me to pay money to the township for something that's been on my house for 250 years? Is this like part of this international thing, part of another way to collect the money out of township people when there's problems? That's one beef I got with it. Because what I got's what I got, and it's the way it's staying. What else? Too many things. I'm too old for this. And yes, Andrea, when I moved into my house 23 years ago, my next door neighbor didn't cut his grass, and it was probably like 8, 9, 10 inches high. He got the nasty letter in the mail about cutting his grass. And that was in the water ditch out front. That wasn't even in the yard. So it was actually lower and maybe even with the street. So yes, happened to my next door neighbor. I don't know why Priscilla's not here. I hope she's well. Oh, here's a beef. Here's a beef. So the guy on 378 spent money on his property, put all these trees in, did all this stuff. Why would the township even accept money from him for the couple of trees he did not put in, or the trees themselves, when they can just say, we're happy with this, see what it looks like after your sign is up, and let him save a couple dollars? He's bringing a business to the township that's gonna pay taxes. And this is my beef with government, because government just keeps taking from people no matter what it is. Everybody, everything we do is taxed to the hilt. So you should be glad somebody's willing to open up that place on 378 and say, keep your couple $100. But no, everybody up there's all on board for taking more out of his pocket.
Can you wrap it up, please?
Bye. Nobody else signed, I'm not either.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay, we have no other public comments. Council reports. Hunter, you wanna go first?
Sure. I don't have much, keep it short and sweet. But just big thank you to our Public Works, Police, and Fire departments for their handling of the severe weather we had Monday night. It was great to see those organizations working together to get roads shut down if it was necessary, or to get trees removed, get to emergency scenes, whatever was needed to make sure our residents' safety was ensured. And Public Works, I believe the next day, had all the roads open before the end of the day, so I mean, incredible work from them, and they're a valuable asset. That's all from me.
Laura, you wanna go next?
Going down the line?
Yes,
Okay.
I am, go ahead.
I will. Actually, I'll address something that Andrea had said regarding the advertisement thing and let you know that it is currently being looked at the state level to try to change that ordinance of requirement for advertising in newspapers, just because of the fact a lot of areas don't even have a newspaper, and, you know, they rely on usually social media type of things. So they are statewide looking at that, but by law, we're required to do it that way. So that's, you know, kind of our hands tied on that one. So go through some of the things I did this past month. We did meet up, or I met up on the 19th of February. We did it in onesie twosies with the people from Lafayette's Minor Center, who will be working on their financial impact analysis and organizational assessment for our township. So they just kind of told us about their qualifications. They have some unique qualifications that kind of match the type of issues we have in our township. So I thought that was good. We had the Small Business Roundtable at the Lost Tavern on the 24th. I thought it was a good event. I would have liked to have seen more citizens there, but it was a good discussion. On the 26th of February, I attended a taping over at WLVT of the Community Conversation Show, I think it's called, and it was specifically on the topic of data centers. They had a panel of different experts that they interviewed and asked, you know, to explain what's going on with data centers throughout the state, and the impacts that it has. It was very interesting to watch. On the 5th of March, we had our fire executive meeting. One of the things that we're doing, which was mentioned, the struck out agenda item, I guess, was to have DCED do a new fire apparatus analysis for us. Our last one was done in 2008, so it's quite out of date. We also did a review of hydrant flow reports that we got from the city of Bethlehem that Jay was able to get for us. So it's a lot of hydrants that don't have very good water pressure, I can say that. On March the 6th, I did my ride-along with the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue, so that was quite interesting. Only got to go out on one call, but it was quite exciting to maneuver down Saucon Valley Road with a big giant fire truck. And then I got to go through everything at the firehouse. I went through every single truck, every single compartment and bin and everything. I made them show me every single thing they had. So it's very interesting, and it's quite impressive how much stuff they have, how much things they need to know how to use. It's a lot of training that they do, and I really admire them more and more every time I meet with them. On the March the 10th, we had our EAC meeting. Probably Chad will talk more about it, but we did have a discussion about possibly being present at Community Day, so I don't know, we'll have to get somebody to get us signed up for that. We'd like to do a make and take project for kids and adults at that. It would be like a no-cost thing, but we need a table space. On the 11th, I attended the Historical Society, Lower Saucon Township Historical Society had a speaker over here at Sidersville Hall. Very well attended event, considering it was a dreadful rainy night, but it was on the history of radio. It was very interesting. I know they have a couple more speakers coming up in their series, and definitely encourage you to attend them. And then on March 16th, which was just on Monday, we did our community impact first session with the LVPC. It was very well attended as well, considering it was a potential tornado night and all that fun stuff, but we had a great turnout. I think they counted over 70 people. And they broke into small discussion groups so that people could feel comfortable to talk, so it wasn't that you had to go there and be public speaking. And I look forward to more sessions with them. And then one other thing on a side note is regarding, just for everybody's personal interest, since I work in IT, huge increase in cybersecurity attacks right now from Iran. And it's something to look out for. If you get any weird emails or texts, that's like their easiest way into you. Don't, just ignore it, delete it. You don't have to answer back, don't do it. So that's my warning. That's it.
Thank you very much, Laura. Chad?
Okay. Again, just to clarify down at the end here, Jay, the IPMC, the full code, what we've adopted in this ordinance is just the changes that we're incorporating. There's nothing external or outside of that, correct?
No, you've adopted the full code of the actual code itself, except for those things that are changed in the ordinance. So you adopt the body of the code. Sort of like you adopt a zoning ordinance, you adopt somebody else's zoning ordinance, except for A, B, and C. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. When we're talking about, let's see here, I'll go through some things. So yeah, the minor setter we got a conversation with back in February meetings to discuss the outline of their approach to review some of the financial auditing and considerations that they're going to help us with in looking forward in the township. February 24th, again, there was the Chambers roundtable at the Lost Tavern. I was there. Kathy, I forget her last name, from...
Hartramp.
Huh?
Hartramp.
Hartramp? From Hellertown, and Jay was there, and it was a good conversation. It was good feedback from the members of the community that showed up. And as always, their beverages are very delicious. Onomatopoeia is pretty good. And then I took home the New Zealand Pilsner that they had. That was really good. I love that place. March 2nd, Parks and Recs met here, and let's see. One thing I wanted to talk about from that was the survey came back from the community. If you're not aware, they picked the movies that the kids are going to get to watch over the summer.
No.
You guys know what they are? Anybody?
Zootopia.
No? Zootopia. Zootopia is number one. Zootopia. Zootopia 2, again, so we get them back to back, you know. And then Lilo and Stitch, the 2025 version, the live action one, not the original animated one. I know, Disney's just redoing everything. But the Lilo and Stitch one, I was a little disappointed that the Minecraft movie wasn't picked. That's what I voted for. I wanted to throw popcorn when everybody did Chicken Jockey. And if you don't know what that is, ask your kids or your grandkids. So looking forward to that. And again, that grant that we're applying for, I think is a great idea. And if we can look into doing more of those things for our community, that would be awesome. The 10th, the EAC met, the Environmental Advisory Committee or Council. And yeah, we talked about a bunch of things that we're gonna look at trying to do, maybe a composting workshop coming up this year. Apparently the township has some leftover buckets that they wanna get rid of. There is a green infrastructure webinar I'm trying to get signed up for somehow magically on the PSAT's website, if that, yeah, if we can figure that out. The Lehigh Valley EAC Network is having a steering committee meeting coming up at the end of March. We're working on a new website for that platform and that group. What else? There's a electronics recycling event scheduled for September 19th. I know that's a ways out, but if you want to put it on your calendar, we're going to be doing that again. Adopt a Road cleanup on, we're going to do that in March, aren't we? The 29th. Reading Drive will be out there, the EAC members, cleaning up the roadside. And what else? Oh yeah, the single-use plastics. Just to clarify this, it's not just plastic bags. We're talking about single-use plastics, okay? That's utensils, that's takeaway containers. It's not just bags, because bags are just part of the problem. They're just the films. Yes, there's fabric, but there's particles as well. So it comes from a lot of different sources. And I guess one of the questions is, if you do nothing, then nothing changes and it continues to get worse. But if we can as a community, and not just a community, this is not just Lower Saucon Township that's looking at this. This is a regional initiative. This is municipalities all through Lehigh and Northampton County who are, and statewide. I mean, New Jersey's banned plastic bags. California's done it. So we're looking at ways that we can try to improve our environment and our groundwater. And if we can do a little bit here and there to cut out some of this waste through the stream, then that's better for everyone long term. There are definitely ways that sustainability initiatives can be looked at that help businesses transition. There's ways that we can look at having community efforts where you have, again, maybe I mentioned this last month, where you can have single reusable cups that you take from one business to the next and they all get washed, and then you get a new cup when you take in. And it doesn't cost anything extra to you. It's just a nice way to reduce that waste. So this survey, I don't know if we have the link up or if we can put it up there, but if you're not familiar, the survey's been out and it's gonna be running until, I believe, April 20th. And so we're looking for the feedback from community on how you feel about this, what your awareness and education is on environmental pollution, plastics specifically, what the health potential implications are, and how you feel about maybe moving towards some changes within our the businesses and how we use plastic bags for taking home groceries or takeout food. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a huge fan of putting hot soup in a plastic cup because it leaches out a lot of toxic chemicals. So if you care about your personal health and your health of your children, I would rather put that in a different kind of container. You know, we've moved, you know, all steel, stainless steel containers that are reusable. I don't use these plastic bottles when I come here. I bring mine from home. March 16th, we had the community forum at the high school. It was dripping on me in the second row, and I had to move. I can't believe the roof was leaking, but you know, it was raining, but we had a good turnout, 70-some people, and good conversation. I know that they're gonna publish the survey of the respondents. Yeah, they broke us up into like 5 different groups, 15, 17 people in each one, but I'm just gonna go through some of the answers here. Discussion for part 1. What do we like as a community about Lower Saucon? Our open space, our mix of suburban rural areas, our trees, our easy access and proximity to other metropolitan areas in Lehigh Valley, Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton. That's what I love about this place. I grew up in Allentown, I moved here, I can still get back over there in 20 minutes. Bethlehem, Easton, I'm down, 20 minutes. I love it here. Affordability, parks and rec, we have great parks. You know, a school district, amplified on that. Our schools, our quality schools, our golf courses, our rail trail, the pride and character in our community, our environmental initiatives, and the high quality of our residential regions. And also, importantly, our emergency services and our police department. And as someone who had to unfortunately call upon our law enforcement, I appreciate who you are to respond quickly and efficiently and professionally. Discussion, part 2, what do we not want? Large footprint warehouses, data centers. Discussion 3, what could we improve upon? What would you improve to strengthen in the township? Restaurants, pedestrian safety, solar, clustering homes, community festivals, bringing our community back together again, cultural programming, especially with the students in the schools, and overcoming a negative reputation as anti-development. And I hope that we can work on improving some of those to bring in some new businesses and homes and residents into our community. Part 4, economic opportunities. What type of economic opportunities could help support the township financially while fitting the community? Retail, home and garden, recreational, utilizing our natural resources that we have, the beautiful space that the Lower Saucon Township is, grocery services, hotels, light manufacturing, taking advantage of the 378 and 412 corridors for commercial and potential office space. And that's about it. So that was a great amount of feedback from our community, and I'm looking forward to the report that comes back from Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. I think they're doing a great job. I know Becky Bradley, again, going back to my days on the Transportation Committee with the Chamber of Commerce, the GOVCC. Phase 1 is this initiative. Phase 2, the initial analysis we should expect back in June. The draft assessment of the report should be in August, and the final should be in September. So I hope to have some good information for you as a community by the end of the year. Upcoming meetings, Rail Trail is going to be next Monday. I'll be at that at the Harrowtown Borough. And then at 7 p.m., there's also going to be the Saucon Valley Conservancy is having a planning meeting. Is it going to be here at Sidersville Hall as well? Do you know? Or is it just, it's going to be next door? Okay. So if you're aware, Heritage Day is coming up. It will be at the Heller Homestead as well as the Grist Mill. They are looking for volunteers. If you'd like to get involved with that, there's a meeting again March 23rd coming up next Monday at the 7 o'clock over here at Sidersville Hall. And I'd like to officially announce that Christmas City Spirits with the Sun Inn will be here. They will have a tent with adult beverages, 3 different kinds of mixed cocktails. I'm looking forward to that. And I will be there dressed up as Alexander Hamilton. So come out and have a good time and celebrate our community and our history. That's all I got. I hope everybody has a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. I will share, we did have a planning commission meeting. We were supposed to have a development project on Easton Road. That was withdrawn. I think we had comments from our developer, but we did also, planning commission did discuss in detail the data center ordinance. And I know that that's gone before the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission also, and we've received comments. So I will tell the community to look forward to that. And if you'd like to see our Lower Saucon Township Planning Commission's discussion, you can check out our most recent Planning Commission meeting on YouTube to learn about what everybody had to say. I attended the Fire Services Committee as Laura went through that. I also attended the event on Monday evening, which was the first step in the phase for Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. Again, like for the public's benefit, this is our way of saying, let's look at the township and say, for the next generation, the next 20 years, 40 years, what would we like to see our township? How would we like to see it grow? Thank you, Chad, for going through all the different initial prompts that Lehigh Valley Planning Commission provided. They produced a slide deck with some initial data that talked about employment information, census data, and trends that they used historical information to generate. So there's a whole team at Lehigh Valley Planning Commission that's currently working with the township. What you see above you is the slide deck, which is now available on our township website. And I encourage everybody to please take a look at that, because that's the initial information that they gathered, what they're going to do with the information we provided. Again, we had I think it was 80 people came out to the Saucon Valley High School auditorium on a night where there was thunderstorms, severe wind, and a potential tornado watch. So I appreciate all of the community in participating and giving feedback to LVPC, because they are really designing based upon what the input they received from the community. It's not township council driven, but it's community driven, which is something I really appreciate that we are doing, is listening to the voices of all of our residents who are participating. They indicated that this is going to be this was the first of a series of public meetings. So we're going to have not just this one meeting that happened on Monday, but excuse me, multiple meetings in which we want the public to come out and participate and engage in the process. So please be on the lookout for the next meeting. We don't have a date yet. LVPC is going to take the information that we received on Monday and come back to the township and ask us for when they'd like to meet again with the community to proceed forward with the study. So I did want to say thank you to them for coming. Thank you to the community for coming on such a stormy night. And I look forward to seeing what that process has brought forward to the next step in the phase. So please check out the slide deck if you weren't able to attend. It was not recorded. However, the slide deck provides you with just the thought ideas. And there will be additional opportunities for the public to participate at future meetings that they are going to be scheduling. So that was, I thought, a very, very important meeting. We had the Water Authority met yesterday. I think I've said this before, but the pump station that has been in the works for many, many years is now complete. So the Water Authority is kind of returning to its normal status quo with no major projects on the horizon for them. But one thing I do want to plug, which our Water Authority does an exceptional job at making sure we retain water. We buy all of our water from the city of Bethlehem, and then it is pumped through Lower Saucon pipes to get to your home if you receive public water. In many instances throughout the whole country, there is what's called a percentage of loss, where the water seeps through the pipes through different cracks, or when there's seams where pipes meet each other, and the water is just lost, and the municipality pays for the water, but the people never use it. So our Water Authority is highly interested in making sure that we retain our water. And so I encourage everybody to look at the Water Authority's website, because we have a whole slew of information on there that indicates how much the Water Authority does to retain our water. But basically, we have one of the best water authorities in the whole country. So, and average loss, I think, is 25% of water purchased that runs through a piping system is lost, as on average through the whole country. And yeah, it's amazing how much is lost, but in Lower Saucon Township, we're below 10%. So it is an amazing number, and our staff is highly skilled and trained to seek out any kind of issues and repair them, and are proactively maintaining the system so that we don't have major losses moving forward. So I do encourage everybody to check out the information and thank the Water Authority and the staff and our volunteer board for all the work that they do to make sure that we are providing a great service at the best price for our residents. The last thing that I want to mention, coming up in April, we have the landfill committee meeting on April 16th. We had at the last landfill committee hopeful to receive information from the PADEP. They were unable to attend due to a family emergency of one of the supervisors. So we are anticipating that the DEP will be at our April meeting. I encourage residents to attend. There was a very important consent order dated January 14th, which addressed a number of outstanding violations that the landfill had for a number of years. And it also included a number of items that the DEP is going to be expecting new work from the landfill to correct and or address moving forward. I will say, with that in mind, we did just receive yesterday or the day before the DEP's municipal waste landfill inspection for the month of February. We received it March 12th, but it's for February. It was an inspection that occurred after the consent decree, which identified certain things that had to occur. And I just want to highlight this because this is like concerning to me because a lot of effort was done with that consent order. I know that we have it, and I'm hopeful that we can have staff make sure that that consent order is prominent on our website so people understand what I'm talking about and they can reference it and read it in detail. But it's a multi-page document which went over various different issues that they expected to be addressed that had happened historically, but to hopefully address moving forward so that we wouldn't have to contend with some of those things moving forward. But in this most recent DEP inspection report that we received, there is a lengthy recitation by the inspector of issues that they observed. And they are now identifying some continued issues that are not being addressed, one of them being the site size of the working face. So the landfill is required to have a working face size that's a specific size. And if their working face exceeds that size, then there's a concern. And that's currently one of the major issues that's being identified by the DEP, as well as the litter and blown litter that's happening on the working face that's visible, that you can see, that a lot of people have concerns about. Justice, I don't want to read the whole thing because it is lengthy, but it says, since the January 29, 2026 inspection, the department received 10 odor complaints. Odor patrols were conducted on February 6th, February 10th, February 24th, and February 25th. An exit interview was conducted with Astor Lawson and Benjamin Matthews. The following concerns were noted: a recent uptick in complaints received by the DEP regarding odors, complaints regarding litter and cover on the north slope, mud tracking from the entrance of Apple Butter Road, Department Odor Patrol observations, so that's the DEP's observations, not residents. Dimensions of the working face as it pertains to the 100-foot by 100-foot standard in the BLC's nuisance minimization and control plan. Litter flagging control and pre-planning for surcharge high wind events. So we had received some reports that when there had been tarping on the working face, and when there was wind, the tarping would blow off and all of the garbage underneath would go all over the place. And so there is an effort to pre-plan for surcharge high winds events. So if the weather says it's going to be windy tomorrow, that we take proactive steps to make sure we don't have garbage going everywhere. It mentions the January 14th, 2026 consent order and agreement corrective action items submitted and are currently under review. And it says there's a January 21st standard operating procedure for communication between BLC and Archaea Energy. February 6th, letter regarding minor modification application regarding capping schedule for the stockpile area. And February 11th, revised nuisance mitigation control plan. It says the department requests the following to address ongoing concerns with daily cover. Beginning upon the receipt of this inspection report, the landfills must submit daily photographs of the final working face cover to Amy Fouch, one of the DEP inspectors. The department also requests that within 15 days of the receipt of the inspection report, BLC provide a response to the working face size issue, the status of recently installed gas wells, and how Bethlehem Landfill plans to facilitate communication with Archaea to provide information regarding the activity of their gas wells at the time of the department inspections. So I just want to highlight that because for me, having that consent order come out, I would expect that we have Bethlehem Landfill on a heightened alert trying to comply with it. And I think that, I would hope that they continue to try to do that. But this report, which we received on March 12th, just a few days ago, highlights that there are concerns even after the consent order which now have certain components of their report indicating that they're reviewing these things. So I just want to highlight that, and I want to make sure that if you have questions or concerns, and you want to understand more about the consent order, and you want to understand more about the daily operations and what goes into notices of violation and how the DEP responds and what happens, please come to our landfill committee meeting so you can receive that information. I will say the consent order addressed violations that went over years. So when you have an issue at the landfill, it's not corrected in days, it's not corrected in weeks. It could take years. And it's not to say that the landfill isn't trying to correct over those years, but it takes years, and that's just the cost of doing business. It's the cost of having a landfill. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. Excuse me. Now I'm coughing. So that's the sum and substance of my report. So I will now move to our acting township manager.
Thank you. Just so council's aware and the public's aware that the hybrid manufacturing district ordinance has been sent back to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission on March 11th based on the comments council made at the last meeting, as well as subsequent conversations with individual council
That's on
members.
Easton Road?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't want to belabor the planning commission meeting the other night, but I did want to from my observation and not participating in any of the 5 breakout groups, I was impressed by the diversity of the opinions that were there. I thought it was a good mix of individuals in the township with a lot of different opinions. And I'd like to take this opportunity to clear up an issue that's brought up a couple of times under courtesy of the floor relative to outside agency that was brought in to do a, lack of a better term, investigation in personnel matters, and that the speaker who continues to bring this up should realize that it is a personnel matter and that this council cannot release it due to the confidentiality of personnel matters, and hopefully that will put that to rest. The other comment I'd like to address is the assertion that it's difficult to do business in the township. In my experience, no matter what township you're in, development happens and it's driven, and the reviews and that type of action by the municipality, whether it's the engineer or the solicitor, is driven by the developer themselves. If the developer comes in with a clean plan, with no issues, and addresses the ordinances of the township, a plan can fly through. It's when the application or the submissions to the township lack clarity and lack compliance with the ordinances that it gets bounced back and forth. So the actions of the municipality are driven by the submissions, not vice versa. We don't put additional demands on a developer because something we just want to do. It's because they've been lacking in the information they've provided to the municipality. So it's developer driven or individual resident driven, not us trying to be a roadblock. In the comments, some of the questions that, since I've been here in the last year, that council asks during presentations by developers are the same comments that are made in other municipalities. It's the same questions that other governing bodies have. It's to just get an understanding and a feel for what the business operations are going to be, or what the residential development is going to be, or whatever type of entity comes before the municipality. And if you don't ask questions, you don't know. And the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. And if you don't ask the question and something comes and bites you, then shame on you. I would encourage council to ask as many questions as they can. It's not trying to be defensive or not trying to put up a wall, but it's trying to get an understanding as to what type of impact it will have on the municipality. As Brian spoke of, the ordinance of this township had developed over years. Different engineers, different councils, and
to get an understanding is to make sure that you understand what the person is going to try to do in compliance with your ordinances, rules, and regulations. So ask the questions, be demanding of the person that comes in, so you're not surprised. I think that's all I have. And the list of, oh, I do have a couple of other things. The list of upcoming meetings is on the agenda. And we just received notification that the Saucon Valley Compost Center will open on Saturday, April 25th. It will be open Saturday only until June 12th, when they will then be open on Fridays and Saturdays. The hours are 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and residents of Lower Saucon can pick up their compost facility card at the municipal building.
Thank you, Jay.
We just got confirmation of the time.
April 26th, I believe.
Hold on, who may know? He just confirmed the time with us. He gave us the day maybe a week or two ago, but he just confirmed the time.
We do have the date, and it's going to go up on the website and such.
Yeah.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's no information. The time is 8 to 11, and he is looking to get the coupons any day that he's going to bring here, and it is April 25th.
Can we just like summarize that whole thing? Because I know the audience member was speaking. I think there's an event that we want to promote.
Spring cleanup.
Spring cleanup event that's held at the landfill. Township residents can get coupons at the municipal building. We haven't received them yet, and it's on April 25th from 8 to 11.
Okay, thank you. And I think we will have another council meeting before then.
Correct.
So we'll make sure that we promote that also, because that's a nice thing for the residents to be able to use. One thing I did forget to mention, since Jay brought up developer things, I had the opportunity to participate in the Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation's annual meeting, which occurred yesterday at Steel Stacks. It was quite the event. If you all have ever been to Steel Stacks at an event, they have the second and third floor where you can have large presentations, and it was packed. We had the second floor, there was standing room only. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people. I think WFMZ also broadcast it. It was a very well-attended event from all of the businesses throughout the Lehigh Valley, and also everybody who does business with businesses that had an interest, municipalities, also elected officials. We also got to hear from the governor, which was really touting a really amazing project that's coming to Pennsylvania with Eli Lilly. If you hadn't seen in the newspapers, Eli Lilly is building $1 billion pharmaceutical, thank you, a pharmaceutical plant that is going to be manufacturing injectable, I think, weight loss drug. So it's a huge project that's not going to be in Lower Saucon or Northampton County, but it's going to be in the Lehigh Valley, and it's going to be generating, I think, 800 plus permanent jobs and 1,000 construction jobs. So I wouldn't be surprised if people that live in and around here are going to have some contact with that. But one of the major things that was highlighted during the meeting was how everybody worked together. We had a business working together with a municipality, which was critical for that municipality to ensure that all the questions were answered, and along with various different components like water and electric involving PP&L and all of those people. And one of the main things that they highlighted is that people weren't looking at what your political affiliation was during this project. They were looking at what's good for the community and how can we work together to make this happen, looking at everybody's stake and what would be beneficial for the Lehigh Valley. And I thought it was wonderful to highlight with that huge room there. And I feel like we have that potential here in Lower Saucon with what's happening with Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and the potential that we have to move forward in Lower Saucon. And I just want to reassure the community that my interest is to make sure that we have bringing all the stakeholders together from all different walks of life, both the business world and the municipal world, the elected officials, the underlying water and sewer and electric, all of that stuff. When those people come together, amazing things can happen, and we have that potential here. So I just wanted to share that. I forgot to mention that meeting, and I think you can all read about it in the news, about what's coming. Steve, you want to give solicitor's report?
I don't have a report, thank you.
Okay. Engineer? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It's now 9 o'clock.